Okay, so we're going to talk about acrylic and tempera paint. They are very similar in their qualities, meaning that they're thick and they cover. A little few things about them is that tempera is washable. It's a little bit thinner, okay? So if you're drawing stuff, you want to make sure that you draw lightly with your pencils, okay? Because you will see through it. Acrylic's thicker, more permanent, and you can definitely cover over. But you can also create nice light look with acrylic by adding a lot more water. Tempera looks a little chalkier. Acrylic is a little bit more shinier, but it's just a little bit. Okay, amounts of paint that you're allowed to use, all right? I personally like the trays because it helps manage how much paint you're allowed to use. You only want to take the colors or the amount that you're only going to use in the next 15 minutes. Don't go pulling out every single color that you need, okay? Just take what you need for the next 15 minutes. You can go back and refill, that's fine, a whole bunch of times. All right, let's see, anything else? The brushes, I just kind of start painting this, so I want to do that. All right, there's two different kind of brushes you can use. You can use the smooth brushes. I'm going to clean this off. Soft brushes tend to be nice and smooth, okay? They have a soft feel. The coarse brushes, a little stiffer, okay? Both are fine to use. They come in flat and rounds. Depends on what you need. Right size tool for the right size actual job. So if you're doing a small area, use a small brush. If you're doing a large area, use a large brush, okay? Now, what I would like you to do is take a moment, and I want you to copy what I have here. Pause the video, copy every little area that we're gonna do, because you're gonna need all of this. Actually, this says painting. There you go. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna first start with filling in. Now, when you're mixing colors, okay, you don't want to mix a whole bunch of one color at once, okay? If you're doing a small area with a little bit of color, you want to do a little bit at a time. You don't want to mix the whole thing because you don't want to waste the paint. So small amounts like this will be perfect. So when you take your paint, I tend to paint on my tray in different spots. Mix what you've got, and you can even like have a test spot. So if you have another little area, you can test it, and you would paint over that spot. Make sure that you take it nice and slow, okay, so you get all in that area that you need. Now, one thing about acrylic and tempera as well is that you can make this a little bit thinner. So let's say I want it to be more like a watercolor. I could take this and I can water it down, mix it up, okay. Make this really thin. There we go. So instead of being thick, I can make it nice and light too, more iridescent. Pretty cool, right? Didn't know you could do that. Another thing is when you're painting, you want to make sure that the area that you're painting next to is dry if you want to have a nice crisp edge, all right? Because if you don't, what happens is that they'll start mixing the colors, all right? It's already starting to dry, and you can paint right around it. Very beautiful. Now, the paper that you're going to be using is actually called canvas paper. You can overwork it. If you paint, and scrub, it will start coming up. Now we're just using a practice paper, so it will be a little bit different than what you're using. Okay, masking tape. Ooh, put my masking tape over here. So the masking tape is painter's tape, and painter's tape, what it is it's actually less sticky tape, okay? If you don't have painter's tape, what you can do is take regular masking tape and put it on your jeans and just pull it up and get some fuzziness on it. So this is great for if you want a straight edge, okay, or you want to cover something and kind of protect it. So what I would do is I would take this and I'm going to paint on it. Now this is something that you're gonna have to come back to, okay? And when it dries, then you peel it up. So we'll come back to that. Dabbing or stippling or whatever you want to call it, pointillism, sure, is another way of kind of applying paint. Okay, so I'm gonna actually put two different colors. I'm gonna take this and I'm just gonna, just kind of dab away. Also helps mix colors too, so I'm gonna pull off some. All right, I'm gonna put some of this. It just kind of gives it a little bit of an effect here. Very nice. And you can let this dry, and you can actually add on more things on top of it. All right, that next word, kind of funky word, right? Strafito. Okay. Basically, it means like scraping into the paint, which is really cool. So what you do is you take the paint, okay, and you can actually take the other side of your paintbrush, and we can scratch into it. Pretty cool. Add some designs. Gives it a real neat effect. All right, I'll let that dry. All right, overpainting. We're actually going to need to come back to this. So what I want you to do is I want you to just take, you know, a little bit of paint, just paint on that, and we're going to let that dry, and we're going to come back. All right, texture, ways that you can add texture. You can take your paintbrush and you can kind of dab it, okay? Also with the coarser ones, they're a little bit stiffer, okay? You can do the same thing. You don't want it to have like a wet brush, just a, you know, dry brush. Now, I don't like splatter paint. Not cool. I don't like the mess, okay? But you can create like a spray effect. So what you do is you take a very stiff, short brush, and you kind of just do that, okay? And that's okay with me. All right, so lifting paint. Sometimes, you know, as you're painting, you can go back with paper towels, okay, and kind of like lift up areas. So it gives like the impression that there's a lighter area in there, all right? I'm gonna try dabbing some water. Ooh, that water's dirty. Okay, you can pull up some color by adding water to this, okay? And I'm gonna let that dry anymore, and I'm just gonna keep ruining the paper. Dry brush. So when you have a brush and you don't add a lot of water to it, it's dry, like this one, it's dry, okay? And you take it and you can actually pull things up. This is great for grass, if you're doing grass, okay? Some areas that have a little bit more paint on it might get a little bit heavier, okay? And it's just picking it up. Dripping, this is kind of a neat one. This is definitely, it can get very messy. And what it basically is a lot of water. Okay, I'm gonna make water, and exactly what it is. It's when you take a watered down drop, okay? Make this really, really liquidy. It's so gross because my water is so nasty looking. All right, so I'm gonna add this, all right? And I'm gonna let it kind of go, okay? And it drips. Another way of getting it to go is you take a straw, okay, because you guys will have smaller ones. And now, don't blow too hard or you're gonna get like a headache, okay? But it's a cool effect, okay? Okay, so last thing, the blending. The blending is probably one of the most challenging things that you're gonna do. And it takes practice. So if you want to, you can always, after we go through here, practice on the back side, okay? All right, so first things first, it's the wet. So what this basically means is that I'm actually gonna rinse out my water dish. There we go. And I'm gonna do kind of like a wet. I'm wet, right? So basically what I'm doing is I'm gonna take my paintbrush, go down like this, get some paint, and I'm gonna use that wet surface to kind of help guide my paint, okay? So it's really wet right there. I'm gonna rinse off my brush, okay? And then I'm gonna pull it down all the way through, okay? So now I'm actually able to kind of blend it out. Dry, a little different, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do dry, okay? So, a little different, a little harder, but not so much. We're gonna make it thick, all right? Then I'm gonna switch to my next color, all right? And then I'm gonna pull it up into us, okay? Doesn't look like much, but if you take a dry brush and you kind of like pet it to go into it very carefully, it will blend it from one to the other, okay? And as I said, practice these. These are probably one of the more challenging ones, so you're going to need to practice a little bit, okay? So you can even go the other way. Take it here and pull it up. Very nice. Okay, streaking. This is not, let's all go run around with our tushies hanging out. I know you're all thinking that. Not cool. Very funny, right? A little different. This is more about layering it in long lines, okay, and then letting the paint kind of blend into it, okay, so I get later and later, all right? Really cool, right? Okay, so we went over a couple different ways that you can use paint, acrylic paint, okay? What I would suggest is, for the most part, these different techniques over here, oh, I forgot overpainting. So sad. Overpainting, very cool. You can paint over it. Didn't know you could do that, right? So yeah, so if you ever have an issue, you can always paint over it. Now, it will mix a little bit with the color underneath, and that's not a problem. But you can definitely add over it, okay? Okay, now we're back. That's so cool. So as I said, a lot of these are easy to do, okay? The blending in the different kind of transfer from one color to the next is a little bit harder. If you want, make sure this is all dry, okay? Flip your paper over and practice a little bit more on them. When you clean these, please make sure that you get very close to the end, okay? Because paint does get up into the top part, okay? And yeah, there you go. And that's pretty much all you need to know.